Here. So hello everyone, my name is Becky with Scott Leroy Marketing, and today we are going to be doing our database overview class. So we'll be going in and I'll be walking you through how to do imports in Command, how to manage your contacts within Command. A couple of things before we get started. First of all, if you have any questions as we go through, please go ahead and drop them in the chat as you have your question. I will save those questions for the very end so I can make sure I can give you a good quality answer and not be rushed on time. I'll make sure I have time at the very end. But go ahead and drop those questions as you have them. If it's something I can answer really quick in the moment, then I will. But for the most part, I will save them for the end. I don't want you to think I'm ignoring you if I don't answer right away. I just want to make sure I can answer your questions fully. So if you have those questions, just go ahead and drop them as you have them, and I can get them answered for you at the very end. If you are not here with me live, if you're watching this back on recording and you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us via email. Our email is support@scottleroymarketing.com. I'm going to drop that link in the chat for everyone here as well. Feel free to send us an email, and we are more than happy to help answer any questions. If you're running into any snags or anything, we're more than happy to help jump in and troubleshoot those issues or help however we can. So if you are looking for today's recording, it will be available on our YouTube channel in about 24 hours. I'm going to drop the link to our YouTube channel in the chat for y'all as well. And it's just Scott Leroy Marketing on YouTube. When you are on our YouTube channel, we do always recommend that you look for the most recent videos. Things are always changing, both with Command and the services that we offer here at Scott Leroy Marketing. So we just want to make sure that you are looking for the most up-to-date videos. The easiest way to do that is using this videos tab right here. It will put the videos in reverse chronological order. In other words, the most recent videos will be up at the very top and they will get older the further down you scroll. So definitely keep an eye on those videos. If you are searching, for example, we'll search for today's class, database overview. They don't always pull in order. This one looks like it did pull in order here, but for the most part, it doesn't always pull in order. So just keep an eye on those dates right there, just to make sure you have the up-to-date information. It pulls in based off of YouTube's algorithm, and it's not something we can control the order of. So sometimes it will be out of order, and sometimes you'll see one from like 2 years ago up at the very top, and that is almost definitely going to be outdated. So just keep an eye and make sure you have an up-to-date video. If for some reason the video looks outdated, your screen doesn't look the same or something like that, feel free to reach out to us via email. We'd be more than happy to help provide updated guidance or an updated video if we have one. Alrighty, so without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump into today's class. So the first thing we're going to do is sign into Command, which is agent.kw.com. We're going to sign in there with our KW login credentials. And everyone's dashboard can look a little bit different. It's customizable, so you can just click Customize in the top right corner and rearrange those widgets, choose which ones you want to appear. So if yours looks different, it could just be the layout there. So just wanted to point that out. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to go over to our contacts applet. So our applets live on the left-hand side of Command. So you'll see this menu right here with all of these different icons. Each of them is a different applet. Your contacts applet is the one just below the home. It's the square with the person inside of it. If you hover over the icon, it's going to give you a little bubble that tells you what the name of the applet is. You can also click this red square with the white KW in it, and it will expand that whole menu for you so you can see all of it. And then you can just click it again to minimize. We're going to go over to our contacts applet here. And I'm actually going to show you, we're going to start with importing contacts because you can't really do much in your contacts applet if you don't have contacts in your contacts applet. So we're going to actually start out with looking at importing contacts. Now, I will say if you've been in Command for a while, you may notice a few changes. We will talk about them as we go through. KW just put out an update last week, a week ago today, where each agent now has a business account. So it's a personal business account. And in the top right corner, it'll have your name and it will show team leader and rainmaker underneath of it. That functions pretty much the same as a personal account with a couple of small changes. The biggest reason for that is so that you can add guest users, so that if you have a transaction coordinator or an admin, then you will be able to add them and they can have access without them using the same logins as you, things like that. So if you've noticed that change, that is why that was changed. And we'll talk about how that affects the contacts applet as we go through. So if it looks different than it did a week ago, that's why. And we'll look at how those changes affect the contact applet. Alrighty, so we're going to start out, like I said, with importing contacts. And we're going to start clicking this import contacts button in the top right corner. Now, this is new. It did change when they did the whole personal business account. So you will see this pop up first. It's going to ask who is responsible for the imported contacts. So this is like if you are on a team, it's going to look the same if you are on a team doing an import. It's going to ask who the contact owner is, and you'll see in this drop-down menu, you have two options. One of them is your personal name, and one of them is your name with business, which would be your business account. Easiest way to explain this is, do you want them owned by the quote-unquote team or yourself personally? And it doesn't really matter either way. You will still have full control of them as the rainmaker for your personal account. So you can select either. It should not affect your access to the contacts, anything like that at all. The only thing it will affect, I believe, is whether your guest users or any team members have access to it or not, I do believe. But we can go ahead and we'll just leave it with our business account. Next, we have the primary assignee. And again, we'll have our personal account name right here, and then any guest users, you can assign them as the assignees. I'm going to leave ourselves as it, but as the assignee, we'll leave our account that way. But if you did need to assign contacts to your guest user, you can do that right here. You can toggle between the two. So we'll go ahead and just go with our personal. And we'll go ahead and click continue. Now, there are two different ways primarily of importing contacts. One is using the KW pre-made template, and one of them is just importing a basic CSV file. I'm going to walk you through both options. I strongly recommend using the template. I'll walk you through how to use the template. I strongly recommend using the template. It is a bit more work up front, but it does allow for a more accurate import, and it's actually a bit less work when you're doing the import itself. So, and again, I'll walk you through how to do both of them so you can make your decisions there. But to download the template, you can just click download template right here, and it will download, and then you can use it from there. So we'll go ahead and we're going to look at importing contacts. We'll start out with using the import file, and I already downloaded it and uploaded it to my Google Drive. It tends to work better for me with formatting versus the CSV spreadsheets thing I have on my computer. So Google Sheets works better for me personally, but if you have Excel or something like that and prefer to use that, just go with what you use, with what makes sense to you. It will work in those other applications as well. So you'll notice when you download the template, you'll see that you have these first two rows are going to have your column headers. Now, these column headers, do not edit them. You will want to leave them exactly as they are. KW has set these so that they will map correctly to the contact fields. And if you change anything in these first two rows, I've selected them so you can see them. Anything in those first two rows, you'll want to leave exactly as is, just so that you can make sure it maps properly without giving you errors. The only thing required for an import is going to be a first name. So you only have to have the first name. If you only know them by their last name, you have a couple of options. So what we tend to recommend is just putting neighbor in the first name column, and then you can add their last name, so that you can keep it separate and know that it is the last name versus the first name. You could add the last name to the first name column. It will allow you to go in and change it. Once you have imported it, you can change it in command. You can edit your contacts there. But we just recommend adding neighbor so that you know it's a placeholder there. we'll go ahead and start filling this out. So you can just fill out anything you have. Again, first name is the only required column. So we could just go with neighbor and we could leave the rest blank. But we'll go through each of these columns real quick. So next we have middle name. So if we have that, we can add that in. Last name, if we have that. Go ahead. Prefix, suffix. I'm just tabbing my way through. I'm just hitting the tab key, but you can select them individually if you want. Full legal name, you can add that in. Anything you want to add to the about section, you can put that in there. If you have multiple notes, I believe you should be able to just separate them with a comma here. But next we have our birthday. So we have our key dates section. So that's birthday and home anniversary. Those you can enter in any format. So any any date format works. So if you just want to enter it with dashes, I don't believe a birthday is required, but we could enter that in. So you can enter in the full date. You can add it with slashes, dashes. Mine reformatted it with slashes, but that's just the formatting on this row. We could change our number format and it wouldn't matter. Same with our home anniversary. We could enter that in. We can just put 12, and then we could put the full number. So we can put 01, oops, sorry, 01, and then we could put 26, and it would update that date as well. So really any number format, any date format will work through here. I generally recommend doing it as numbers. I'm not sure why that reset. So you can change, if you're in Google Sheets, you can change your number formatting. Just select it here and then go over to your number format section right here. I'm gonna go with more, and we'll go with date. There we go. So I just reset it to a date format, but you can adjust those settings and we'll just have it in numbers here. I don't know if spelling out the month will import it properly, but okay. Next, we come to our cell phone number. Now, one thing to note, if you enter a fake number here, Command is going to automatically recognize it is a fake number. So if I were to say, that is our number, the phone number, when it goes to import, it's going to fail to import this contact and it'll tell us why. So I'm going to go ahead and do that just as an example so you can see it, but we'll keep going through. So you'll have your cell phone. Again, any number format works, just the straight numbers. If you add dashes, if you add parentheses, anything like that will work for your number formatting for phone numbers. Next, we have our primary. So we can mark it as a primary number. Just mark it with a capital Y if that is their primary number. Only one phone number can be marked as primary. So if you have multiple phone numbers for this contact, I'm going to scroll over a little bit so you can see. So if you have multiple phone numbers, if you, for example, have a cell phone, a home phone, a work phone, and other, you would be able to mark any one of them as the primary phone number. So however you contact them primarily, you can set it as primary, but only one of them can be marked as primary. So just make sure one of them is marked and only one of them. So we can go through. We have our phone number in there. Next, we have email addresses, and that is going to be the same thing where you mark it as primary. So you can say we'll go ahead and enter that in fake email, and then we can mark it as primary, and then we'll go through work email. You can add that in if you have those. Next, we have our address lines, and you can go in and enter those in, and then you would mark it as mailing. So it's pretty much the same thing. So we can say 123 Main Street. It's our address line 1 to city. Now, when you get to zip codes, one thing you will want to do here is if you do have a zip code that begins in a 0, oops, let me not add too many zeros. So that's the zip code here. You'll notice that it will automatically usually drop the 0. So again, we're going to change our number formatting like we did with the date. We'll just select the whole column. We'll go over here to our number formats. And now I do already have them since I've done this before. So again, if you're doing this in Google Sheets, it'll be this exact process. If you're doing it in like Excel or another spreadsheets program, then it will probably be a little different, but it will be pretty much the same. You're just changing your number formatting. So we'll go into custom number format, and then you can just select how many digits it has. So just enter a 0 for every digit and click apply. And it's going to apply it with that 0 on there. So now it went ahead and allowed for that 0, didn't drop it off. And then we could add our country if we needed to. Label, and then it's going to ask if this is our mailing address. So we would just mark it with a Y if it is the mailing address. If not, you would not put a Y there. And we'll go ahead and put Y there. Then we have our address lines. So if we have other addresses, we can add them in. So we'll go through that. You can add 3 different addresses there. And then we get to the end, and we have a couple other options in here. So next we have our tags. And now tags, you're going to separate with a comma. That's actually what CSV stands for, is comma separated values, meaning that everything is separated with a comma would be considered a separate entry. So that specifically applies to tags. That's why you would want to make sure you upload it as a CSV file. But we can go in, we can add our tags. One tag we do always recommend is a bulk tag that you apply to all of the contacts in here with import, and then you add the date. So we'll say, it's the 6th. So we'll say 0506. We can put the year on there as well. And then you can add multiple tags. You can add as many tags to contacts as you want. So we can go in, put those tags in there. And you can just keep separating them with commas. As many tags as you want to add, you can go in and add them in through there. Next, we have our source. So if we have multiple sources, it's going to be the same thing. So we can say website lead, things like that, and we'll separate it with a comma for each source. And then the same with notes. So if we have multiple notes, then you'll want to separate them with a comma. We can add them in. One thing I will note that is if they are not separated by a comma. So for example, if we had all of our tags, we put, maybe we put a dash between them. It's going to import this as one huge tag right here. And so it would not separate them. So you do need to make sure they are separated by commas. Just wanted to go ahead and clear that up in case there's any confusion, because I have seen that happen before where people are like, why did it import as one big tag? You just need to make sure they are separated by commas for them to enter as separate entries. Same with notes, source, anything like that. Next, we have our social media, so we can add their social media links, so links to their profiles for Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, or Instagram, any contact that we have in there. And we'll go back over, and you would just do this with any additional imports we have. So we can have this, we'll add another one, and then I'm actually going to delete the phone number from that contact because we have more information there, and then I can show you what it looks like here. So we'll go enter that phone number there, and we'll leave this blank. We won't add a phone number to the first one. So then you would just fill this out with all of your contacts. If you have your contacts in a database file already, like a CSV or Excel file already, generally you'll be able to copy and paste the columns and just copy them over and go column by column without having to enter them all individually. So that may be an easier way to do that. You can also, I will go ahead and say, you can also absolutely send us your CSV or Excel file with your contacts, and we can reformat it for you. And then we can also import it for you to save you the time and effort of going through and adding it in. Once we reformat it, we'll send it over for you to approve, make sure everything looks right, and then we'll import it from there. So that is definitely an option. Just wanted to let you know. But we'll continue going through how to do this. But you can go in, add as many contacts as you want to this. And then once we've added it, yes, you would send it to the support email. Sorry, I did not clarify that. Again, support@scottleroymarketing.com. And we can do up to 5 CSV files per agent per month. So if you have more than that, you can merge it into a file. If you want to just add them in there. But if you want all of them imported, you can, add, just merge some of those, but we can do 5 per agent per month. Okay. Um, so we'll go in, we'll just go with these 2 contacts for now. And then we'll go ahead and I'm going to save this as a CSV. Now, since I am downloading it from Google Sheets, it's a little different. If you were just editing it in your computer, you would probably just be able to save it and upload it. Just make sure it's in CSV formatting. But if you are using Google Sheets as well, we can click File up here, and then I'm going to click Download, and then I'm going to go to the comma separated values or .csv, and it's going to download that file for me right there. Now, before we import that, we're going to go ahead and also look at what would happen if we were doing a custom import, if we're importing a file. Now, with the custom files, you're just starting your spreadsheet from scratch. You do need to make sure you have column headers. So you only have to have the first row has to be column headers. So we can go in, we'll say first name, last name. We don't have to add all of the columns here. We'll just put tags and we'll put email as well. So then we can go in and start filling this out just with as much information as we have. Again, first name is the only required field here. We can go in, we'll say, let's see here. And then we'll add our tags. Again, just make sure you're adding that import tag. The reason we recommend adding an import tag for all of the contacts in your import, that's not today's date at all, is so that you can, if something were to go wrong with the import, maybe you did copy and paste the information from another spreadsheet and you didn't realize that they were misaligned by like 1, and so therefore all of the contacts imported incorrectly. Then it just allows you to go in, find all of the contacts from that one import, and then you could either update them manually or you can delete and then just redo the import. So that will allow you to redo it from there, but we just recommend adding that in there, adding your tags. And then we'll go to our example. All right. So we'll just do that as our full contact spreadsheet. We'll just do the one import contact here. We could do more. Again, you can fill this out however many contacts as you need. Then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to download it as a CSV file. And now we can go over to our contacts in command. Now, again, I've already pulled up this import, but if you were not here for that, we'll walk through it again. Just go to your contacts applet and we'll go ahead and click import contacts. You're going to select who is responsible for it. So you can either select your personal account or business as the owner. So you personally are the owner, or your business team account is the owner of the contact. Either way, you have full control. As the rainmaker, you have full control either way. But we'll just go ahead and we'll leave it business here. Primary assignee, you can either assign the contacts to yourself or any guest users you have on your team. And then we'll go ahead and say continue here. And now from here, we can upload our files. So we can just click browse. It's going to pop up for us to select from our files. Since we just downloaded it, I'm just going to simply drag and drop it over. We'll start with the template we used. I'm just going to drag and drop it from my downloads. And you'll see upload is complete, and we'll just go ahead and click continue. From there, it's going to, you'll notice right here, it automatically assigned all of the columns that we had. So it put them all in properly. We have our first name, last name, primary email address, tags. So you can tab through and review all of the contacts individually just to make sure. But we can go in, since we did this in the template, it's 99.9% probably likely to be all in the right columns, but you can definitely review them just to make sure that it added it all to the right columns here. And we'll go ahead and we're going to click finalize import. It's going to tell us your contacts are being imported. We can return 2 contacts. So we can go ahead and refresh it. Since there are only 2 contacts, it should be imported. But if not, then it might take a few hours. If you have a lot of contacts in there, it can take some time. Usually it's pretty fast though. So you'll notice our banner across the top is gone. We can click this notification bell and we'll see whether it was successful or it failed. It says it failed. It's because I added that fake number, but I will show you what that looks like. It still would have imported the one contact that did not fail to import, but we'll look at that in a second. I'm going to go ahead and add in our other custom template we use. So we'll go ahead, we'll leave it the same. Contact owner is the team and primary assignee. We'll go ahead and continue. I'm going to drag and drop that over from my downloads. And we'll go ahead and click continue. So this is why using a custom template is a little more finicky. You'll notice that you have to go in and manually do the column mapping. So you can make sure that all of the columns are importing correctly. So it will tell you what your column header is on your template. So I'm going to switch over. So you can see we have our first name, last name, tags, and email. So if we go over here, it gives us the same ones, and then we just have to match them with the correct command field. So first name, last name, I'm just going to type this one. It's easier to find that way. Tags, and then we'll say email. Now, when you do email, it's going to ask primary email, additional email, anything like that will go primary. And then from there, we can click continue. Now, since we only have 4 fields on here, it's not that much to go in and do all of the column mapping. But it can be a lot of work if you have a ton of different fields. For example, if you had it like the template, if you had all of those fields, it would be a lot of work to go in and match all of the columns. And then we'll go ahead and click continue. It's going to give us the same thing where we review the contact. So it'll tell us the name, primary email, tags, lead source, anything like that. And you can go through all of the contacts. Since we only added one, it just gives us the one to review, and we'll go ahead and click finalize import. Same pop-up, return to contacts, and we'll refresh. And we'll see we have a new notification, and that one was successful. So now we have those new contacts in here, and we're going to go ahead and keep looking at our contacts. I will show you actually, no, we're going to do that now while we have it top of mind. We're going to go look at our failed import. So if you click the notification bell here, you can go ahead and just immediately download the log right here, the fail log directly. It's going to download it, and then you'll open it up in a new tab here. Let me see if it pulled up. Oh, for some reason, it did not load properly. Give me just a second. We'll keep looking through this real quick. I'm going to upload it to a Google Drive so that we have it's easier to find here. But in the meantime, we'll go ahead and look at how to find it otherwise. So if you go over, if you're looking for the fail log, you've already viewed that notification and went to your red notifications. You can go find it there. But we can also go over to our settings in command. So you'll just click your name in the top right corner and you'll click settings here. And then from there, we're going to go ahead and on the left-hand side, click command settings. And then we'll go down and we'll go to our my logs right here and go with imports. And you'll see the import logged here. So all of the imports you've completed, you'll see the status of the import. I'm not sure why it just refreshed like that. Give it a second, sorry. So we'll go ahead and there we go. So you can see the status, the date started, date it was completed, the number of contacts that were imported, the number that failed in that import, and then the total contacts that were in the spreadsheet in the first place. So for example, this was the one that failed. You'll see we had 2 contacts total. One of the contacts failed and one of them imported properly. So if any of the contacts do fail in your import, if it says your import failed, it's not going to fail every single contact in there, most likely. It usually won't. It will import any of them that were able to be imported, and then it will just fail to import or skip importing whatever contacts it can. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull up this fail log real quick. So we can go here. Give me just a second. So we can go in and we can see this is our fail log. So you're going to see in here, we can scroll all the way to the far right. It tells us which contact failed. So it's the one we knew was going to fail. So we can click here. We'll see all of their information. If we scroll all the way to the far right, it's going to tell us what the errors were. So if there were errors with the tags, you'd see it here. Any source errors, you'd see it here. Validation error, the phone number has to be a valid number, which we knew was going to happen when we entered 123456789. We knew that was not going to be validated as an actual number. If that phone number were already in our database, it would show up, I believe it's here, that's the email. So if it had the same email address, it would show up in this column. It's going to skip importing duplicates based off of the phone number or email address that you have as their primary. So if it's an additional email and you haven't marked it as primary, it should still import just fine. But if you do have that marked as the primary phone number, then it's going to skip any that are failed, that are duplicates from there. So go ahead and close that out and we'll go back over to our import. Again, we can download our error file here. We can download the original file here if we want to see that again, but we have that. So we'll go back over. We'll go back to our contact applet here. Give me a second there. All right, so now we'll look at how to add a contact individually. So we'll just click create contact in the top right corner. You'll see their full name here. So we can enter that in. Let's see here. Trying to come up with another fake name that we don't have in our database already. But we can go ahead, we can add a relationship here. So if you have another contact you want it tied to, so we can go ahead and we can say relationship. We'll go in and select one from the list. So we can select from the drop-down menu what the relationship is, whether it's spouse, a parent, sibling, kid, anything like that. We have even down to business partners, anything like that. You can go in and select a bunch of different options, but we'll go ahead and we'll just say sibling from there. So then we can add our primary email if we have it. Again, full name is the only required field, and you only have to add the first name in that field. So we can add our email, phone number. If we have that, we can skip it as well. Lead source type. So our lead source, we can select from a list and select what the lead source is in here, or we can select from contacts. So lead source is basically where you found out about this contact, where you met this contact or this lead. So we could say from the list, if we have it in here, KW has created a bunch of different options in here. So we could start typing, we can go website, and we can select from contacts instead if we heard about them through a contact. So we can say maybe we met them through the relationship we already had on here. Go ahead and grab that one. And then we can go down assignee and lead routing options. Same thing we have. So this is the assignee. So again, same thing we talked about with our imports, who's assigned to it, you or guest user. Collaborators, if you're going to allow the guest user to view the contact as well, if they're allowed to be a collaborator with the contact, you can select it from there. And we can mark it as a lead. Generally, what I would say for the classification between a lead or just leaving it as a contact, I guess it kind of depends on where you found out about them. If maybe you just got their contact information, if they, we just got this lead from this contact right here, we can mark it as a lead. We know that they are interested in buying or selling, but we haven't had any like conversations with them. We haven't kind of built that relationship. I would classify it as a lead then, but then you can mark it as a contact. They kind of turn into a contact the more you reach out to them and kind of pour into that relationship there. So everyone classifies their leads a little bit differently. So if your definition of it is a little different, just go with what works for you. There is no specific protocol on what specifically classifies as a lead or a contact. That is totally up to you. I just figured it might be helpful to have a simple explanation there. And then we have our contact tags. Again, we can add as many as we want. So you can just start typing and those tags will appear. And you can grab whichever one you want to add. We can add multiple tags. Next, we have additional contact information here. So we can go in and add additional emails, phone numbers, their mailing address, primary address, mailing address, more addresses, we can add them in here. Social profile links, we can add, again, multiple through here. Next, we have the About section where we can add their legal name, description, birthday, home anniversary, relationship. So we can add more relationships down here. So up at the very top, there's only room to add one relationship. But if you scroll down under About, you can add multiple other relationships to the contact. So if you have, their spouse or siblings or more family or anything that you want to add, you can add multiple here. Company name, we can go in and add that with whatever company they're at. And then we have custom fields. Custom fields are fun. I love custom fields. So we'll go in, we'll do the drop down menu under custom. And from here, you can create your own fields. So we've gone ahead and created those. You'll start without any custom fields and you can just create your own. So you can click add custom field and it will allow you to select from the custom fields you've already created. So, any that you've created will pop up here. But you can also create new ones. So if we want to say, maybe we want to add their kids' names. So we can go ahead and click create as new. It's going to allow us to create a new custom field. So we can add our label name here and then the field type text, drop down date or number. So we can go in and create that and kind of just add in our drop down items in here. Now I'm not going to do that for kids' names. I was just showing you that it would do that. But you can select multiple from a drop down. And then when you go to create that, you can select from the items. But we'll go back to text here. You also have the option to add a date or a number. We can go ahead and create a custom field. And then we could go in and type in the kids' names here, as many as we want. We have room here. We can add multiple through there. Some other options for custom fields. Great one is pie. A favorite pie. A lot of agents like to do a pie giveaway come November around Thanksgiving. So that may be one you want to add. Maybe if you kind of learn some individual things about your contact or about your clients and you want to maybe, you have a closing coming up with them and you want to give them a, personalized closing gift, you can add, different things so that you kind of just build what you know about them. And that way you can quickly look at the contact and remember without having to sit here and try to remember, for example, what their favorite superhero is, or, not that that's necessarily going to help you as much. That was just an example. But you can add as much information as you want in here, and you can add as many custom fields as you want. There's no limit there. But we'll go ahead and click create. Once you click create, it's going to bring you directly to the contact card here. So you can see all of your contact information that you've already added. So we have our lead source, we have the account, the assignee, the collaborators on this. Up at the top, you'll also see whether they're marked as lead or a contact. So you can deselect that and it will mark them as not a lead. And then you can see the contact tags. We can click this edit pencil and add in more relationships, or well, you can do that too. More information is what I meant to say, sorry. You can add in as much information in there as you want. You'll see the contact's health score right here. That just means how much information you have about the contact. So if we were to go in, add in their primary email, their phone number, and additional contact information, if we were to go in and fill out all of that contact information, this health score is going to go up. So that primarily means how much information you have about them. I think it also is affected by any contact you have with them. So anytime you reach out to them, anything like that, that will improve the health score as well. Scrolling down, we're going to see neighborhoods. Now, it's going to automatically assign a primary neighborhood based off of the address you add to the contact, but you can add manual neighborhoods here. So we can click add neighborhood, and then we can search Orlando, and then we can just start adding neighborhoods from there. Down below, once you select it, it's going to give you more suggested neighborhoods that you can select from here. So we can go in and just, select a couple. So we'll have the different neighborhoods here. Again, it's not going to assign a primary neighborhood. You can't add one manually, but you can add manual neighborhoods through here. You can also click find on a map. We can go, let's go control into zoom. We'll go down. Since we were looking at Orlando, we'll just zoom in here. And there we go. We'll see those neighborhoods start to populate. So then we can just start clicking on them, and it's going to assign those neighborhoods. So if you know based off of the area, the neighborhoods you want to add, we'll go ahead and click save here. And we'll see we have all of these neighborhoods assigned here. Again, primary is only going to be assigned based off of the primary address you have for them. So once you have it, it will automatically assign a primary neighborhood here. Now you can also toggle between the neighborhoods to kind of preview them here. And we can also click preview if we want to see the stats for that neighborhood. So if you want to see, maybe they're on a neighborhood nurture, then they're going to see some of this information pop up here. Now, if you do want to share neighborhood information about any of these neighborhoods, and you want it to be branded to you, because you'll notice the preview is not automatically branded to you, so you do want it branded. You can just click in here up in the search bar, and then you'll just type your subdomain. So we can say, we'll add our subdomain. So now it's our KW website, and then it has that following information. Then you'll notice it updates with your font, with your color scheme, with your branding. All of that is going to be updated for you. Oh, let's scroll down a little far. But you'll be able to see all of that information. So again, you just manually update the up in the search bar in your navigation bar, and then you can just copy it and share it from there if you want to share that preview with your branding on it. Next, we have the additional contact information. You'll see that below, any social profiles and about information. You'll notice the relationships. It is a blue hyperlink. We can click on that, and it's going to bring us over to our contact that is marked as the relationship with it. And it will add that relationship over here as well. So we can toggle between those from directly within the contact. Now, on the right-hand side, you're going to see a timeline here. So this is going to show all activity. We can toggle it to show only my activity now. That is one of the changes. Whereas otherwise it'll show any activities. So if your assignee or collaborator did anything on the contact, it would pop up here in this timeline as well. So you can toggle between showing only your activity on the timeline or anyone's. But then you'll get an AI summary once you've added 5 different activities to the timeline of the contact. So you'll see, you subscribed contact to multiple neighborhood updates. So you'll just get an AI overview here. But you can go through and you can see all of the things that you've done with the contact here. So it has, the creation, the lead source was added, the contact, the collaborator was added, anything like that, any smart plans we've added them to, anything like that will be filled out as we go through. Next, we have the opportunities tab. And in here, you'll see any opportunities that are assigned to this contact. So this contact is a client on whether a seller or buyer on the opportunity. We can also create an opportunity through here directly. Next, we have smart plans. So we can add them directly to a smart plan or you'll also see any smart plans that they've already been added to. Now, these were added based off of our lead management rules, and I'll show you where you can find those. We actually have another class on that, but these are probably lead management rules as well as smart plan rules, auto adding them to actually it's the smart plan rules, I'm sure. auto adding them to a smart plan based off of the tags we add to the contact. So we can remove them from those smart plans. Go ahead and say yes, remove, but we can leave them on one of them. Next, we have tasks right here, and that will be any tasks that are assigned to you, but tied directly to that contact. Those can be based off of the opportunity or smart plans or anything like that. It can be created through there, or you can create tasks manually. Next, we have notes. So you can add multiple notes to your contact. If you imported notes, they would be here as well. And saved searches as well. We can create a saved search for this contact. So we can click create saved search, add in their criteria. And then we can just say, we'd have to add, we'll go in and we'll say Orlando here. There we go. We can add in anything through here. I think location is the only required field, but we can add our saved search title, the primary email for the contact, and if we're sending email notifications, we can choose the email frequency, and then we can click create saved search, and it will start sending those saved search emails to your contacts. If they do create a saved search through the consumer app that they have that's tied to you, if they have an account there, either that or through the website, then you will see those in the saved searches as well. Currently, you do not have the option to view the criteria or edit them, but I do believe that KW is working on an option for that based off of what I've seen. We don't have an ETA on that. I just saw that the other day that they were working on an option there. But your contact would be able to change those criteria through the consumer app or through the website, either way. So we'll go back out to our contacts. And then a couple other things we'll look at here, just kind of an overview of, sorting your contacts. So we can search by, first name, last name, email, mailing address, anything like that. We can filter by who the contact is assigned to. So all agents, it will show all of them. Or we can filter by it's assigned to ourselves or assigned to our guest user. So you can toggle between those. Go back to all agents here. Next, we have filters. And honestly, this is one of my favorite things ever with the command contacts is they have so many filters that you can filter your contacts by. So we can filter by the contact type. Are they a lead or a contact? We can filter by our tags. We can add multiple tags to filter by. We can filter by the lead source. Team site connection. This means whether they have created an account on your site or consumer app. So are they connected or not connected? Who the assignee is, collaborator, the owner, neighborhoods, recently active, when it was created. We have a ton of options through here so we can filter. And if that's not enough filters, we have advanced filtering up at the top. A couple cool things about advanced filters. One they just added, you can now filter by custom fields. So we can go ahead and we can say our custom fields. So we can scroll all the way down and you'll see this section for custom fields. We can grab whichever custom field we want to filter by. So we'll go ahead and say favorite candy, and we can say either it's empty or it's not empty, and then we can apply it from here. And we'll see that these are the two that have our custom fields. We'll go in. If you click this column button right here in the top right, we can scroll down and find our, we'll go with that, toggle it on. And we can arrange our columns here. I'm going to drag it up to the top so you can see it. But it'll rearrange our columns right here. And then we can see that those are the two that have, the favorite candy added to them. Now, a smart view is going to be the next thing, and that is very closely tied with our filters. Basically, a smart view is going to allow you to come back to the same filters, the same column layout, anything like that. Come back to that at the same time. Or again, so when you come into your contacts applet, it's going to reset to your default view, whether that is just the default all contact view, or whether it's a smart view that you've set as default. It's not going to keep the changes, the layout, anything that you've already added in there. when you come back. So best option there is to create a smart view. Then you can toggle between them. So we can say create smart view. I'm going to say, go ahead and we'll save a smart view here. So then we could switch between our smart views. We can go in, we'll get down. Oops, scroll way too far down. Favorite. I should have added those filters here. Oh, it switched it to is not empty. No, that's right. Go ahead and apply it. I'm not sure why it didn't do it right. It should have filtered it properly. It didn't in this case. But it usually does, so it must just be a small glitch. But we can go back over to our specific one that we typically use here. So that will apply for columns you rearrange. It should apply to your filters. It will also apply down at the very bottom. You can show up to 500 contacts at a time. I think it defaults to 25, or maybe it's only 10, but it will default to one of the smaller ones. So you can set it to show 500 contacts at a time, and that will be applied in your Smart View changes as well. Through here, we can see all of the columns. Again, you can choose which columns you want to show. And then through here, we can also go in. If we click these three dots by the contact, we can edit them, add the add activity, note, archive, view the smart plans, add to smart plans, mark them as lead, anything like that. But if we bulk select our contacts, so we can select all that are in our view, or we can select them individually through here. So when you go in and do that, you'll see this hidden action menu appear right here. So we can add a tag to them. So we can bulk tag our contacts. We can add them all to the smart plan, add notes, send an email, archive, more options, adding activities, exporting them, things like that. A couple other things, because that is really all for this part. A couple other things, we'll click these three dots and we'll see our options here. We can check for duplicates. If you click check for duplicates, it's going to scan, and then it will let us know when it's ready. It's going to scan based usually off of first name, but any information that is the same, basically usually off of the name, then it will let us know if we have any duplicates. We also have these three dots. We can export our contacts. So we can export all team contacts. So that's really going to be all of the contacts, or we can export all owned contacts. That'll be ones that we specifically own, based off of the ownership we set when we import it. One thing to know about exports is when you do export contacts, when you click either of these options, it's going to send an email to your KW Communications email that you have on file. So you can check that, click your name in the top right corner, click my profile, and then go to my KW on the left-hand side. You'll see under personal information, your KW Communications email right here. So just make sure you have access to that if you are looking to export contacts. It'll send a link over to that email, and then you'll have 24 hours to click the link to download the file. So you have that option. Let's see, a couple other things we'll look at here. Just some more back end settings we have. I'm actually going to go ahead and click our name in the top right corner again. We're going to go back over to our settings. And then under command settings, we have our contacts applet settings. So our contact archive. So anytime you're deleting contacts, it is going to be a two-step process. So you'll archive your contacts first, which you can do either by selecting them in bulk or individually within the contact. So you'll archive them first, and then from the archive, you can either delete or restore them. If you are importing contacts and you already have those contacts in the archive, they need to be deleted from the archive before you can re-import the contacts. Again, it will skip duplicates when you're importing based off of the email address or phone number, but they cannot be in your archive either, or it will skip them entirely. So just make sure you know whether they're in your archive or not, because you can restore them directly back to your contacts applet, or you can delete them permanently right here. Now, keep in mind, it is permanently deleting them. You cannot get them back once you have deleted them from the archive. You cannot get them back. So we can say, okay, and fully delete that. You'll notice it's grayed out. You just have to refresh your page and it will update. Next, we have the database wipe option. You can go in and archive all contacts and then delete them from the archive. Again, still a two-step process. If you are bulk deleting, bulk archiving, and then deleting contacts, I strongly, strongly recommend that you export a copy of your contacts first. That way, if by mistake you archive and delete the wrong contacts, if you need any of that information back, that way you have a copy of it, just so you make sure you don't lose data. So please go ahead and export your contacts before you archive and delete in bulk, or archive and delete all contacts at the same time, just so you can make sure you don't lose that information. Because once you have, again, deleted it from the archive, you cannot get that information back. There's nothing you can do. Unfortunately, there's nothing KW can do either on their end. So they are just permanently gone if you do that. So just something to keep in mind. Be careful when you do that. Contact tags in here. You'll be able to create tags. You'll also see in this created by field, you'll see ones that you have created and ones that the system has created. Any that you have created, you can edit or delete, and any that the system has created or KW has created, you will not be able to edit or delete those. But you can go in, manage your tags through here. Lead management, we can set up our lead management rules. So anytime we get a lead from our website, anything like that, we can set up a lead conversion plan to automatically add them to a smart plan, automatically tag them, anything like that. Lead sources, again, anything created by the system, you cannot edit or delete, but you can create manual, you can create them manually. We'll scroll through, we probably have to go a little ways before we find any created by us. KW has created a ton of them. So there we go. There's one. But you'll see it's created by you, and then we can edit or delete it from there. Next, we have database cleanup. So when we scanned for duplicates, this is what it popped up. So you'll see any of your contacts that then you can merge and anything like that. So we'll go in, we'll see this first one. We can either ignore the duplicate or we can go ahead and merge it. I'm going to go ahead and click merge, and then we can select which contact we want to keep. So we're merging this one into this one. We'll go ahead and click continue. We can merge and delete the duplicate. We can go in, we'll look at this. Let's see here. There we go. So when you do have a contact, if it has an opportunity created on it, if it has an active site connection, or if it has a smart plan already assigned to the contact, it's going to make you keep that contact, and then it would merge the other one automatically. So we can't switch between the two on this one, but we could go ahead and say continue, merge and delete the duplicate on this, and you can just go through manually to clean those up. And then next we have custom fields through here. So any that you've created, you can go in, you can edit them. We can, it's very similar to how we were doing it within the contact with creating it. But here you can also make it a custom default or a default custom field, which means it will automatically show up on your contact and you won't have to go in and manually add it to the contact when you're creating it. And then finally, under My Logs, we have the import and export logs, which we looked at earlier with our import. So that is all we have for our class. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up and get to some questions in the chat. So if you'll have more questions, please go ahead and drop them in the chat. If you are not sticking around for questions, thank you for joining me. I hope this was helpful, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.